ערב טוב לכולם, וברוכים הבאים לתוכנית השראה פרקטית עם אורלי בר-קימה. אנחנו בתוכנית הראשונה לשנת תשע"ח. ואני רוצה לברך את כולכם בהגעה. רגע, תסלחו לי רגע, אני פשוט שומעת את עצמי כפול. עכשיו אני שומעת את עצמי בסדר. אז אנחנו הערב מתחילים שנת שידורים חדשה עם ראיונות מעוררי השראה בתוכנית פרקטיקל אינספיריישן, השראה מעשית, תוכנית שאני יזמתי לפני מספר שנים כדי להביא לפה לארץ, לקהילה בארץ, ראיונות מעוררי השראה עם אנשים מחוללי שינוי בחיים, עם מנטורים, עם מורים מכל רחבי העולם. ובחרתי להתחיל את השנה החדשה בראיון מיוחד עם טים קלי, שאני מיד אציג אותו. הוא מאמן בכיר, הוא סופר, הוא יועץ אסטרטגי, על הדבר הכי מעניין והכי חשוב עליו שהוא פיתח את שיטת ייעוד אמיתי. זאת אומרת, טים קלי עוזר לאנשים ולארגונים למצוא את הייעוד של החיים שלהם, למצוא מה השליחות, מה הדבר הזה שאותו הם באו לעשות, והוא עושה את זה דרך שיטה מאוד מאוד מיוחדת, שאנחנו כמובן נדבר עליה. אז זה לא הרעיון הראשון שלי איתו, כבר ראיינתי את טים כמה וכמה פעמים, הוא איש יקר מאוד, אוהב מאוד את ישראל, מגיע הרבה מאוד לארץ, והוא גם מגיע בקרוב בנובמבר להעביר פה סדנת ייעוד אמיתי, שאולי ניתן לכם עליה פרטים בהמשך, ואת השידור הזה אני בחרתי לעשות ביחד איתו, מכיוון שאנחנו בקהילת השראה פרקטית עוסקים חודשיים האחרונים בכל הנושא הזה של חופש, של חירות, של מעבדות לחירות, של איך אנחנו משחררים את עצמנו מהשעבודים שהתודעה שלנו נמצאת בהם, מבית הכלא הפנימי, שאנחנו לפעמים אפילו לא מודעים אליו. וחשבתי שזה יכול להיות חיבור מאוד מעניין לדבר על חופש בהקשר של ייעוד חיים, מה הקשר בין חופש וייעוד חיים, ואיך ייעוד, מציאת ייעוד תורמת לנו לתחושת החופש. אז אני עוברת לדבר עכשיו באנגלית, ולהציג את טים קלי שמתייבש לו בינתיים בקו השני. So good evening, Tim Kelley. I'm sorry that you waited so long.
No,
but
no problem. בסדר.
Good evening and...
סליחה, לא עברית.
After so many times that you've been here in Israel, you should learn
You
some
think
Hebrew.
I'd know by now.
Yes. So I was introducing the show and I was introducing you and I would really welcome you to the show. This is the first show in this year, the new year here in Israel.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova, yes. And I said that I chose to open the new year with you, although we had a few interviews before, because I saw that there is a very interesting connection between the theme that me and my community are working on, which is freedom, or from freedom to slavery,
Hopefully from slavery to freedom.
From slavery to freedom, of course, yes. I'm excited, I haven't been broadcasting for 2 months, so I'm excited every time. And it's good because I like to be excited, because I think also when you do your life purpose, which I believe that I'm doing in this moment, to bring messages to people, to interview people that do things in the world, that make changes, that help people to do transformation like you do in your work. So it is really a great joy and privilege to have you here on the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be a tool for you to do your purpose.
Yes. So first I want you, to introduce you, because I think that there are many people here on the live broadcast that maybe don't know you and what you do. So I said that you're an international coach. And you developed or invented, I don't know how you call it, the true purpose method that you teach all over the world. And you are helping people and communities and organizations to find their life in countries, also in Israel you do it, to find their life purpose. So how do you define what you do? What is your life purpose?
So there's, for those who are familiar with the true purpose methodology or choose to use it to find their purpose, there are actually 4 different types of purposes. But I could sum it up probably fairly easily in 2 sentences. One would be to create heaven on earth. Like that would be a way, or alternatively to guide people to heaven on earth would be another way of saying it. But more specifically, in terms of the activities I do on a day-to-day basis, I would say it's to guide leaders who are meant to create heaven on earth, right? So there are certain people, politicians, business leaders, heads of NGOs, people like you who have a community or an audience and influence who are seeking to create heaven on earth. They may not use those words in their mind, but they're trying to create a new and better world.
So, you know, when you say heaven on earth, for me, heaven on earth is freedom.
Yeah,
it's
certainly a feature of it. And so that would be your part of your purpose, is to free as many people as possible so they can live in heaven on earth, right? Because there's the heaven on earth we haven't created yet, but then there's also the one that's already here that we can't see.
Yes.
And to the extent that we are not free, we are blind to the heaven on earth already around us.
Yes. So I would like to ask you, you know, what is freedom for you? What is your definition to freedom? How do you know that you are free?
It's a very good question. I'm not sure I have a definition that's different from what you would get out of the dictionary. I think that the only difference between the way an ordinary person on the street would define freedom, that is basically freedom to choose, freedom to act, you know, that if I can basically do whatever I want, then I'm free. The only thing I would say beyond that is that what I discovered working on myself was that I was less free than I thought. I had an imagination that I could do whatever I wanted and be whoever I wanted. And I actually, from a fairly young age, I realized that other people and events and things like that didn't need to control me, which was actually, that was very helpful. But that I was a slave to a whole long list of things inside of myself.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, that the cells, that the bars, we make them ourselves.
That's right.
So we are the ones that need, or we are the only ones that can release ourselves from this prison, from this you know, conscious prison, unconscious prison.
That's right. And there's a very, this is very important for Israelis, because pardon me if this offends, but I've noticed many Israelis have a tendency to steer towards a victim point of view and to complain. And if I place myself in the position of saying, well, I had to do this because he or she did that, or I couldn't do this because he or she did or said that, or I say, this is bad and it's their fault. All of those kinds of statements transfer power and authority from me to the other. And in effect, what I'm saying is, I am not free.
That's making you a slave. Yeah, that's making you a slave.
That's right. So to blame is to enslave oneself. To blame is to enslave oneself. It's to transfer the power to the other. To
somebody else, yes.
That's right.
Because I think that freedom is a state of consciousness.
It is.
Either you feel that you are free by the way that you can respond and not react automatically to things that are happening in your life, to life situations, to people that annoy you, to situations that challenge you. If you have that freedom to be centered, you know, to be connected to your source, and we will talk about the source in a few minutes, because this is what True Purpose Method teach, to talk to your source, to be connected. So you can be a more free human being.
That's
to
right.
really allow yourself to bring your talents and to bring your words and your thoughts freely.
Interesting. Something just happened.
We have.
That's Revital. Revital is doing this, but she's got a lot of echo. Revital.
Ooh, I shouldn't be on air. I'm going to come straight off. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Hi, Revital. So you said, how did you know that you were a slave? What did you feel? What were your thoughts that made you understand that you are a slave when you work, as an engineer and in the corporate?
Right. Yeah.
What was the minute that you said, listen, I am a slave, I want to be free?
Yeah. The clue for me was that I was doing all the things that I wanted to do and it still wasn't making me happy. And so I realized that I wasn't a slave because I wasn't like following my own instructions, right? I was following my own instructions. I was a slave because I was blind.
Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by blind?
That's right. So I couldn't see my own path. I couldn't see the series of actions and activities that would make me happy, that would fulfill me. I thought that they must exist, but I thought, how is it that I can't even know what will make me happy? How can that be? I mean, I can make myself happy in a short-term way, but to truly make myself happy and fulfilled in my life, I didn't know how to do it, and I couldn't find the way. And what I eventually learned was that I was masking certain assets. It's funny because I didn't feel like a slave. This is important. A lot of people don't realize it's like, well, I'm doing this and I'm having this and no one can tell me what to do, right? Yeah. So I'm not a slave. It's like, yeah, but how have you constrained and confined yourself? This is the question. How have you constrained and confined yourself? And the thing that constrains and confines us is usually unconscious, which means we can't even see it.
Yeah, we don't see the bars that are.
That's right. So you imagine a child who grew up in a prison with no windows, they wouldn't feel trapped at all.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's fine. I can go anywhere I want. They can inhabit the whole universe as they see it.
So
and that was the clue for me. It's like, wow, there's a whole other universe out there I can't see.
You gave, I think, an important key in noticing about are we free or not? The joy element, I call it. So one of the things, for people that are watching the show, ask yourself, I say, because this is a practical inspiration. We want to inspire, but we also want to give them tools, to work on themselves. So I think one of the keys is to ask yourself, am I happy? Am I waking up in the morning and feeling happy? I was a journalist for many, many years here in the Israeli journalism, and I thought, what was my life purpose? But I wasn't happy because because my work made me hurt people. Look for all the bad sides and write about them because this is what you write about.
Now listen right there. My work made me. There's the language.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because when you're saying your work made you do it, then you're saying, I wasn't free not to.
I wasn't free not to. I think I was trained to. I was trained to be a journalist, and part of my work was to hurt people.
Yep,
and
that's right.
So this is an important key for people to check on themselves, to look inside and say, are we free or not? Are we happy or not?
That's right. And to notice the things that you don't like about yourself, about your life, about the world around you, that you feel you cannot change.
Okay, can you give me an example? So
let's say that you're in an unhappy relationship. And you think, well, I'd love to be in a happier relationship, but I can't change it because reason. I can't leave him, for example. It's like, okay, maybe you can leave him, maybe you can't, but there's probably things you could do to make the relationship better that you're not doing because you're telling yourself that you can't, right? And there are the bars. right? So now
Yeah.
I put up with things in a way I don't like them because I don't feel I have the freedom or the ability to make them better. And so these are the bars of belief, right?
Yeah.
That people
so
have.
this is another important issue in this subject. So we think, or we are attached, or we identify ourselves with certain beliefs, maybe that we learn from our parents, from our teachers, from our surrounding, from experience of life, that we
our country and our culture.
Yes, that we're embedded time after time after time in our consciousness. So we believe it's true. It's who we are.
That's right.
And
that's right.
And we are
and
not
then we
free.
Operate as if it were true without ever questioning it.
Yeah, like saying, I said for many years that I'm not a technological person.
Yep.
I hear something technological and like my eyes close, my ears close, and I don't understand anything. And I realized one day that, I'm saying it, but is it true? Is it really true? We're talking here and we are using technology, and I facilitate all this, and I did it by myself. So I realized that I'm not afraid of technology. It's a belief that I had, and I have to change, and I can change it.
Mm-hmm.
So it made me free. It made me enabled to interview people from all over the world, not only from Israel, with this technology.
I know, you don't have a technician there in your office. You're doing it all yourself.
Yes, I'm free. I'm a free spirit.
Free to be skilled at technology. Yep. Good. And the beliefs appear like reality. And interestingly, if someone challenges a belief, right, they point to one of the bars and say, hey, wait a minute, that belief might not be true. People's natural reflex is to defend it.
Yeah.
Right? They want to protect the bar and keep it in place. No, don't take away my bar. My bar is comfortable. It's familiar. I know my bar so well. Don't take my bar away. And so they'll defend the prison that they've created for themselves. Now, here's an interesting one, Orly. I hear this a lot when people talk about limiting beliefs. They say, my parents gave these beliefs, the culture gave me these beliefs, my teachers gave me these beliefs. I remember as a kid rejecting some of the beliefs that my teachers were trying to give me, right? They would say, oh, well, you should never have sex before marriage. And I'd be like, what? Why not? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think I'm going to take on that belief, And they were pretty intense about it. They were trying to sell that idea, and I was not buying, And I was, 7 or 8 years old or something, and so I know that I rejected some of the beliefs that people tried to sell me.
So you were aware as a child.
Well, we all do, right? We don't accept every single belief that someone else offers us, right?
From early ages, between we are born until 6, 7, we are like a sponge. We take everything.
We are absolutely like sponges,
yes,
for sure.
So
all I'm saying is that at some conscious or unconscious level, all the beliefs we had to accept and install.
Yeah, and reinforce them again and again and again and again.
That's right. So blaming others for the beliefs that we have is another way of making ourselves not free and putting the power on them. Instead, say, I took on all these beliefs from my surrounding. I accepted them and chose to install them and have been living with them and reinforcing them ever since. I've been feeding, caring for, and nurturing them my whole life, as opposed to blaming someone else for my beliefs, right? So it's just another bar. So now you can go in and remove the beliefs. And one of the interesting things about finding your purpose is once you see your purpose clearly, it illustrates for you the beliefs that you will have to clear in order to be able to manifest it. So it's actually a great way of shining a light on the bars, because as you start to move towards your purpose, you'll start to bump into bars and go, wait a minute, I can't do that purpose because of blah, blah, and blah. It's like, whoop, up, aha. Now I know which beliefs I need to clear to get out of my cell, out of my cage. I've got a flashlight shining on them, because the rest of the time they're invisible.
Yeah, but when you're doing an inner work or inner inquiry, and you you recognize, like, you know, I have a fear. I have a fear that, you know, I won't be able to support myself or support my family if I do my life purpose. I will need to leave my work, or I will need to leave my partner, and I will be financially.
I'll be alone, and no one will love me, and they'll all think I'm a nut. So I better not find my purpose.
Yeah,
this is a different type of bar.
When I was in your workshop, maybe many people, you know, stated that this is their fear. Like, how can I make a living if I'm doing something that I love, that's something that I'm good, but it's not making money?
That's right. And now we have the fear bar. We talked about the belief bar. This is the fear bar. Now we have all of the terrible things that will happen if I do what I really want and become the person I really want to be. And now people won't even take the first step on the journey to find the purpose, much less manifest it, because they're stopped by the bars of fear, right? I don't want these bad things to happen, so I won't find my purpose.
You know, I'm thinking that there are many, you know, ordinary things that keeps us in this prison and not being free. Like, you know, today we talked about a little bit about the technology. We are being enslaved to the technology. Yes. So it's too much, because we have to check every minute who's writing what in Facebook, in Twitter, in Instagram, and all the social media, and we can't work and we can't think unless we check if somebody did like or didn't do like. I think it's the biggest disease and enslavement that is, you know, I think it's going to be one of the things that humanity will have to deal more than drugs and more than alcohol.
It's interesting that you say that. There is an addiction, and it works like this. So there are two interesting facts about what you just said, which is very insightful. So one is that there are people who've left Silicon Valley who talk about what goes on in these companies, and they have psychologically figured out how to trigger certain substances in the brain, right? Certain brain hormones and chemicals that they're trying to, so they've now got it so that if you don't check social media for a while, your body starts to release stress hormones.
Stress, yes.
And the only way to release the stress is to go check social media, right? So this is the same way you like train a rat, you know, in a laboratory or something. So they've got it figured out how to actually use your own brain chemistry to get you to do what they want in their app. So for this reason, I do not use social media. So if any of you are following me and don't see very much, I apologize. But I am unwilling to be a trained rat. So that's one thing. The other thing is they have conclusive studies that show that the more time you spend on social media, the less happy you are. Now, the social media people complain and say, well, wait a minute, you know, just because two things are correlated doesn't mean one is causing the other, which is true. So they took people, measured their happiness, had them stop using social media, their happiness went up, put them back on social media, and their happiness went back down again. So they proved that it was actually a cause. And it's leading to suicides of, you know, teenage girls and stuff like that because of the negative effects of it psychologically. So it is also an interesting form of enslavement. Now, I do think those things have a place, but it's sort of like using alcohol, or, you know, I have some back issues, so occasionally I'm taking opiates for pain. So if I'm going to drink alcohol or I'm going to take opiates, I have to take care not to use them in an addictive fashion. And that's the thing I think people are missing with social media is, am I using it in an addictive fashion, and can I use it responsibly?
Yeah, so what we're saying here, so another bar, we talked about thoughts, we talked about fears and beliefs, and I think now we're talking about habits, habits that we are
slaves to my habits.
To habits, like I have a habit every month, and habits are good because, you know, a habit is to brush your teeth also. Sure. And it's good, and it's a good habit.
Exercise habit, sleeping habit,
Yeah, but some of our habits keeps us in slavery, because we are in the comfort zone of what we know. You talked a little bit before about it. So we're not doing actually what we want to do. We do what we are used to do.
We're doing what we have been trained to do and what we have trained ourselves to do.
Yeah. So now that, you know, we have a bad picture about all our, or not all, but the main slavery factors in our modern life. Let's go to the other part and breathe a little, you know, and get to the freedom part. So how do
from slavery to freedom? We've spent almost half our time on slavery.
Yes, I look at the watch and I say, listen, I don't want to be in the slavery.
Shift to freedom here. I don't want to spend the whole hour on slavery.
So how do we become more free? And how is life purpose, which is really the main issue that we wanted to talk here tonight, how is our finding our life purpose serves the freedom feeling or the freedom aspiration?
Yeah, it does it in a couple of ways. And first, we want to say that there are many ways to free yourself, right? And Orly, you and I have both done a lot of consciousness work. Yes. And most of it, in some way, shape, or form, creates additional freedom, like freedom from the necessity of reacting in a particular way when something happens, for example, that, you know, you can do work with your childhood and various things like that, that frees you up in that way. So there's many ways to free yourself. And purpose has been the one that I've used successfully to free myself, and I'm very, very fond of it. But I wouldn't want to push the limiting belief on people that this is the only path.
Yes, I have a program that I'm offering, which is called 40 Days from Slavery to Freedom. And it's a coaching program that every day they get like a freedom message, I call it. And they work on something inside of them. It can be their thoughts, their feeling, their actions, so they can free themselves and be more centered in who they really are. I think this is the really key to freedom. And you are talking in your methods about the source. So let's talk about the source.
So the technique that we use, so we'll talk a little bit later about how the purpose frees you. But let's talk first how this idea of the source frees you. So the way we find people's purpose is by connecting them to some source of wisdom outside of their conscious mind. For most people, this is internal. So my higher self, my heart, my spirit, my true self, my inner guide, something like that, right? So they're naming the part of themselves that can see their path clearly and knows their purpose already.
And this part,
for some folks, it is external. So the more spiritual or religious folks will place it externally as well.
Like God and Jesus and whatever you call it.
The universe and the
universe, the nature, whatever. And this part in you, this is the beauty, I think, that connects both freedom and life purpose, because this part in you that you are talking about, and you call it the source, and I call it a God or Shekhinah, or you never, it doesn't matter how you call it. This part is free.
Yes, that's right. That's the key.
This is the free spirit that we all, maybe forgot or we don't remember that it exists in us. So what you do, you remind people, listen, you have a key to freedom and it's inside you.
Already built in. It was designed as part of you. That's right. Yeah. And this part, just as you say, this part does not experience fear. And it is not bound by limiting beliefs, right? It doesn't live in the cage. It is outside of the cage. So this affords you a really powerful opportunity, which is to get advice and perspective from something that's outside of the cage. Because unfortunately, the people in your family and in your life and the people around you are also in the cage. Now, their cage may differ from your cage, which can be useful. right? They may not have a limiting belief that you have, or you may not have a limiting belief that they have. That can be unuseful and that leads to arguments, but it can be useful when you voice one of your limiting beliefs and your spouse or your friend says, that's not true. You believe that's true and that's holding you back. That's not true, right? That can be helpful. But this internal source, what I call a trusted source, this lives completely outside of the cage. And now when you say, I want to have this, or I want to do this, or I want to know my purpose, or I want to achieve this goal, or I want to be happier, it can give you advice that is not constrained by the cage at all. And this is immensely useful.
Yeah. So this is why I thought that it's a perfect conversation from freedom to slavery, because we all need a way to reach this part of us.
That's right.
And I offer my way, you offer your way. There are many ways, we're not the only one here, because there are many methods. I'm the only
one who can do it would be another limiting belief. Don't want to do that.
Yes. And I'm a student of the Course in Miracles and other methods, and there are many tools. So I would like to hear really, what do you offer people when they come to your workshop? What do you offer people in order for them to get into contact with their source, their inner source, their higher source, and get really true answers from their free part?
That's right. So they have to take a little sort of half step outside of the cage in order to be able to talk to the part. And it works like this, that for most people, the thing that is the particular bars that are keeping them from talking to this internal source are the bars of fear. It's what we talked about earlier, right? Well, I might not like what it says. It might tell me to do something that I don't want to do. What if it says I should leave my marriage? Or what if it says I should quit my job? I'm not ready to do that, so I can't talk to the source yet, right? That's how the internal conversation goes. And substitute other fears for those. Those are just some fairly common ones. So because the source might tell me to do something I don't want to do, therefore it's too risky to have an open channel of communication to it. It's too risky for me to answer the phone, right? So that's the particular bars we need to deal with. So in all of our workshops, we teach people a very simple methodology for identifying and removing the bars of fear. Now, given how many things fear is blocking, that little exercise, which takes a little over an hour, is amazingly useful at so many things, because my clients use it. I work with a lot of leaders, so they'll use it to get a CEO position, right? Or to get the life partner that they want, or to launch a political career, or to earn a bunch of money. They'll identify and clear the fears that are stopping them from doing those things, right? So this is a bar removal technique for your cage that works exceedingly quickly and simply, right? We call it conditions, right? So this is a way of having your mind relax and see a safe path forward to get what you want. In this case, to talk to your internal source, but you use it for many other things too. So we remove the bars, and now they can communicate with the source, and they can do it in writing or in meditation. There's various different ways of doing it. But now they're able to communicate with the source in words, ask questions in words, get answers in words, have long conversations with it to get advice about all these things. Now, here comes a really tricky part, Orly, that a lot of people get confused by. They believe that they have to do what the source says. This is a very common belief. As soon as you set up the belief that you have to do what the source says, now you're not free.
Yeah, you don't have free will because you have another
dictator. You don't have free will anymore. You have to do what the source says. Now you have a new slave master. Right? I just spent all this time removing all these fears, and now I'm putting a chain around my neck and handing the other end to the source. Like, no.
Well, he does mean well,
Oh, he does mean, of course. He's giving you lots of advice. But treat the advice as orders and instructions that you must follow, then you'll feel enslaved by the source and you won't want to talk to it anymore. And now you lose the benefit of having all that excellent advice.
Okay, so what do you say? That you say that he can tell me as long as I remove the bars and I'm able to talk to my source and get answers.
And
now I don't have to follow. Yeah, I don't have to follow.
That's right. I don't have to do them. I ignore instructions from my source all the time. So
you're having fights with your source, Tim.
No, I don't fight with him. I just don't do what he says. Now, I have a very close relationship with this source, so I try to work things out, right? If we disagree, then we have a conversation. It's like a marriage, right? I mean, if you don't agree about something, it means the conversation's probably not over if the thing's important, right? So it's
so what you really say, you negotiate with it.
Exactly. But I feel absolutely free not to do what it says. Just like if my wife tells me to do something I absolutely disagree with, we'll have more conversations about it. But in the meantime, I don't feel like I have to do it.
But you do it anyway with your wife. Tell the truth.
Much of the time. Not 100%. Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, my husband said, that he knows that he's a prisoner, but he's a smiling prisoner.
He's a happy prisoner.
Happy prisoner, yeah.
Master.
Yeah, he's smiling.
It's interesting though, even if I do everything my wife asks, and even if I do everything my source suggests, I can still be 100% free if every time I have the experience that I am choosing to do what my wife asked me to do, or I'm choosing to do what my source recommended. If every time there's a choice involved, I could do what both of them say 100% of the time and still be 100% free, as long as I'm choosing every single time. And this is something I see Israelis do, and Israel as a country does this a lot, is refuse to do what someone asks them to do just to prove that they're not being controlled by them. That's actually another form of slavery. I figured this out when I was a teenager, right? I realized
because it's reacting.
If I had to do the opposite of everything my parents told me to do, I was a slave. This is a tricky bar that you don't see it, because say, I'm not doing what my parents, I'm doing exactly the opposite what my parents, I thought about being as a parent myself. I said, I would not be a parent like my mother was a parent to me. Right.
But
which is now a bar.
Which is now a bar. And when I do exactly the opposite, so I'm enslaved to doing the opposite. Exactly. And I don't have really a free choice.
Exactly. Good. But now let's say I pull this off. I remove the bars of fear. I set up the channel of communication with this trusted source. Now it's giving me lots of advice. I'm deciding whether I want to follow the advice or not. I follow a bunch of it because it sounds good to me. Maybe a few things I say no to. And now I start to live a happier and more fulfilled life. Okay. Now here's the next trick, which is if I choose, don't have to. If I choose, I can ask the source, what is my purpose in life? Who am I meant to be? What am I meant to do? What's your advice about how I can have the maximum positive impact in my lifetime? Maximum positive impact on the world, creating a better world, and maximum positive impact on myself, being as happy and fulfilled as free as possible. And now the source explains my purpose to me. This is what we do in our workshop, right? So the source, now that I have this connection working, the source explains the purpose to me. And now I have the opportunity, the possibility to go out and manifest that purpose and have all the joy and fulfillment that comes from that. But now there's a new trap, a new potential bar, which is if I tell myself I have to do my purpose. Right? I had this debate with a client of mine who was a CEO of a high-tech company, and he said, "But do I have to do my purpose, Tim?" I said, "No, you can do anything you want." And he says, "Well, then why do I need a purpose if I can do anything I want? What's it for?" And we had this long debate about it. And finally he said, "Oh, I think I understand what you're trying to say, Tim. There's this huge field of possibilities. There's all these different things I could do. And the purpose is the path through that field that will have the greatest positive impact."
That's interesting.
Said, yes, that's it. It is the path of maximum positive impact. That is exactly right. Now, do you have to walk that path? No, you can go thrash through the underbrush, right? Or just sit there. You can do whatever you want. But if you want to be happy and fulfilled, if you want to create a better world, if you want to have the greatest positive impact possible, this is the way to go. And that's a very useful piece of information to have in your freed state to decide whether to go that way or not. So you don't want to now be a slave to your source. You don't want to be a slave to your purpose either. If you walk that path, one of the things that'll happen is it will show you whatever the remaining bars are in your cage. As soon as you start to move in that direction, any fears or beliefs or anything else that's in your way will immediately come up and be highlighted and conscious. So now you can deal with it and clear it. Oh, I see. I can't do my purpose because of this, or I feel I'm not allowed to do my purpose, or I'm not capable of it, or I'm not free to do it, or whatever it is, the blocks that come up that prevent you from manifesting your purpose, these are now the key bars in your cage that you need to deal with in order to get out and be free.
Wow.
And of course, the source will tell you how to clear them.
It sounds like a lot of work, Tim, to be free of your bars.
It seems to me. It's actually, well, think about it, right? If you were a real slave in a real slavery situation, the easiest thing to do is just keep doing what the master says.
Yeah.
Right? That's the simple path. That's the easy path.
When
if you want to escape, you got some work to do.
If you want to be free, yes, sometimes you're not sure that you want to be free. When the Israelites were slaves,
remember that? They're complaining to Moses, why you took us out here in the desert? You're better off back there making pyramids.
Yeah, they're not sure that they want to be free because they see as we talk and, and this talk unfolds, that this is a life work. Right. All the personal development, all the inner inquiry that people in our community, we do it all the time. In Hebrew, we call it chafirot, like digging, to do the digging. But it's a life work because when people want to, we talked before we started the broadcast, we talked about the Maslow and needs, hierarchy of needs. And, when people, the freedom is in the top, the small one up there, the triangle.
Self-actualization.
Self-actualization. There is the freedom because first you need to go through the blocks of the survival and the love and all the steps.
That's
and
right.
Not all, I think, I don't know. For me, as a child, I consider myself a free spirit from birth.
Yep.
It was very important to me to make my own decision from being very young, to be independent, to do. It doesn't mean that I don't have my bars. Of course I do, and I have a lot of work on it. But it's like something that I aspire to. It's like one of my main values. To be free.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I realized that not for everybody. That made me, it made me, I was
Some
very
people are
surprised.
very comfy in their cages. And it's interesting, it's easier to see in other people, right? So a classic example is if you have a friend who's in a toxic marriage, right? Where the people are abusive to each other, and they might not be violently abusive, but just they're really not getting along and they insult each other and this sort of thing. And you say to your friend, well, why don't you leave him? And then she explains the bars to you, right? And you might really want her to get out of there, and she might not want to. She might be comfy in her cage. And this is hard for those of us who are called to be free to understand about those who are not, is that sometimes the cage is where they want to be. And I realize there's an arrogance that I had as a younger man, which is to tell people what they should do in order to be free, to tell them what they should do in order to be happy. And a lot of times people's basic attitude was, F you. And I was very shocked by it. And I realized, if they haven't chosen that they want to be free, I have no business trying to do that with them. Now I could invite them, I could ask, I could offer.
Yeah, you could open the space. This is what I realized.
So now I notice you're in this cage here. Is that where you want to be? And the more mature version of myself, I've learned that if the person, and they sometimes say it explicitly and they sometimes say it implicitly, they say, you know, I'm okay. I'm happy in my cage. I'm good. Then God bless you and enjoy your cage. I'm going over here because I see somebody else who might actually want to get out.
and I think that part of my freedom work is not to judge them, because
right.
Judgment is one of the big judgment and criticism. It's another bar. Because as you say, you feel like you're superior. Listen, I'm working on myself. I'm free and you're not. You're in your cage.
Who am I to say that that's not the right choice for them?
So I'm still in my cage if I judge other people. And to see that and say, okay, I respect that. I respect that you're, I don't know if you're happy where you are, but this is where you want to be. So I respect that and I don't judge you.
Happy enough, apparently.
You know, Osho was talking about freedom from what I'm not. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my body. I'm not my job. I'm not my, you know, what other people say about me.
Not my role in my family. I'm not my gender. I'm not my race. I'm not my religion.
And the other part that is a part of freedom is freedom to be who I am, freedom to do what I love, what I want, freedom to say what I believe in, freedom to live my life purpose.
That's right.
Which is you know, this is a two part of freedom. So I think that people need to know that, you know, it's a process of becoming, you know, free from all the things, identifying all your fears, all your beliefs,
all the identifications that keep us
all the things that we cling to. We cling to them.
For comfort, safety, a sense of knowing who we are. We cling to these things so that we can believe that we understand what's true and what's not.
So. You know, we have like about
hierarchy. If I could just say a word or two about that,
yeah.
that the hierarchy talks about, you know, what we need at different stages, depending on what we have and don't have, where our attention goes. There's the freedom, as you said, lives at the top at self-actualization. All the other levels, the safety level, the relationship level, the esteem level, all these other levels are what Maslow called deficiency needs. That is, that our attention goes there because we don't have enough. And that's another big slavery we have in our culture, is slavery to not having enough. And advertising is based on showing you that you don't have enough of something, and now you have to get it from these people, right? Whatever it is, right? You don't have enough sex, you don't have enough good looks, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough of this or that, and come do this or buy this or do this thing, and now you'll have enough. And related to that, oops, I lost it. Anything you want to say about that?
You were talking about the deficiencies as a bar.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, I know what it was. That there are people who have a vested interest in you staying low and enslaved on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so we talked about advertising. The other big one, thank you for reminding me, the other big one that really concerns me about Israel, and this is true in the US as well, is the media and the politicians convincing people that they could die at any moment and they must be afraid, and keeping people enslaved to safety, when in reality Israel is one of the safest places on earth.
Yes, the politicians and the media, they use it a lot. They talk most of the time, they talk about, you know, fear from bombs, fear from Iran, fear from
existential threats. I've never seen people in any country use the term existential threats so many times. And so now they can keep you enslaved to your survival fears.
Because when you are a slave, you're not free in your mind, they control you better.
That's right. That's exactly right.
They control you better.
For them. Yeah.
So you know, part of my wanting to free people is really to make them realize that they are okay.
Yep.
They don't have to live like in this you know, like there is a threat over their head all the time. So they can relate to who they are, and they can connect to their source, and they can connect to what they want and their greatness, because we forget it. We forget that we're so beautiful and great inside.
And have so much power and so much potential. And this is the thing, it's hard to communicate to people what it's like to be on the other side of this. To see, because the world looks different. When the bars are gone, you have a different view of the world. And now the world is a world of possibility. There's so many different things that could happen, so many things that could be made to be true. And the bars that said it can't happen are now not there anymore. And so now I have this experience of having infinite potential and infinite power, meaning if I'm willing to spend the time and energy, I could change basically anything about reality. But the thing that would be easiest for me to change is the thing my purpose asks me to. So now I can see if I make these particular choices and walk this particular path, I can create a better world for myself, a better world for everybody else, a better world for my children by walking this path. And if I walk this path, that is the greatest fulfillment and happiness I'm capable of experiencing, is the act of creating that new world. And that's such a delightful experience that people who remove those bars and walk that path just love it. And I have to caution them because it's so intensely amazing for them that they want to then run around and convince everyone else that they should do it right away. And I'm like, no, hang on, deep breath.
Yeah, becoming a priest, a priest.
Don't start doing that. No one hates anything worse than someone who just came back from a workshop telling them, "This is amazing, you have to do it right now." And it's like, no.
So, Tim, we have like 9 minutes for this broadcast, and I know you're coming to Israel this November. In a week, you are here. And you are doing a workshop here in Israel. Is it your what? I think the 10th, 9th, 8th workshop? How many workshops?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
How many times have you been here? You come here a lot, right?
I come there 3 or 4 times a year, and I've been coming since 2009. So it's a lot.
Yeah. So how come? How come you chose Israel to be a place that you really want to influence here a lot?
Yeah. Well, it arises from my own purpose, that helping Israelis find their purpose, helping Israeli companies find their purpose, and helping Israel as a country find its purpose is that path of joy and purpose for me. That's after long consultation with my trusted source, I concluded that was the way I could have the maximum impact on the whole world. Because if Israelis and Israel lived their purpose, that would create a better world for everyone. Israel's purpose is for the whole world. You know, that old stuff about Tikkun Olam and Or Lagoyim.
Yeah. Yes.
That stuff's true. Just because it's written in a religious book doesn't mean that, religious people would say, well, therefore it's true. The non-religious people would say, well, therefore it's not true. No, it's true. That's accurate purpose information about Israel. And so the world is waiting for Israel and Israelis to live their purpose, right? That Israel has a sacred duty to upgrade human society. And Israelis and other people around the world know this instinctively and intuitively, but there are bars in the way. There are bars blocking Israel from seeing and fulfilling its high purpose. And this is my job, is to come to Israel and free Israelis and free Israel to live their purpose. And in a very simple way, it's a very selfish act on my part, is I then get to help create heaven on earth and live in the heaven on earth that Israel creates, if I'm successful in that, And I watch the news too, and I'm like, it'd be good if somebody did something about this, and I think that somebody's me. Yeah, so actually Israelis finding their own individual purpose is a contribution to the nation and the future of Israel. Because so many Israelis, the bars are very thick, right? They become walls, that Israelis are trapped in fear, so much so that they don't see a positive future for their country.
Yeah,
So
I say it about freedom when I help as many people as I can, you know, when I open the space for them to transform and overcome their fears and really feel their own sense of who they are and be more free, then when everybody does his work, it really affects like the butterfly effect. Yeah. On other people and on other countries and
you free the people around you. When you live your purpose, you free the people around you to live theirs.
Yeah, and part of this show, you know, the practical inspiration is like really bringing people that think differently and live differently and have more experience in this matters, in these processes, to show that it is possible. And people, you know, if you would talk with me like 12 years ago, 13 years ago, before I made the transformation in my life, in my consciousness, because we have to do it inside of us before we see the consequences outside. Yep. And if you would talk to me, you know, 12, 13 years ago, I would say, what the hell are you talking about? Get the hell out of my way. Yep. I was so in the prison, so I didn't even see that I have the bars.
Yeah, from that deep in the prison, this stuff sounds crazy, right? And, yeah. And the younger version of myself would think so too. But, you know, having done it, and it's not just about the change in consciousness, seeing what I can now do in other people's lives and in the world and in organizations and with leaders as a result of this consciousness, it, like you say, it produces practical results. Now I can do stuff I couldn't do before. What could be more practical than that?
Yeah. So you're coming next week, and I will send a link, you know, if people want to know more.
The workshop's in about 2.5 weeks. I think it's maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Whatever that is, it's around the 15th, something like that.
Yeah, and I know it's 3 days, and I did it twice.
That's a vote of confidence right there.
No, it's just I didn't get it in the first time.
Yep, back in 2009.
Yeah, I had to come again, you know, to reinforce it.
To refresh some of those bars, creep back in when you're not looking. You got to go pull them out again. So.
They do. I call it, I don't know how you say it in English, like the caves. In Hebrew, they call it me'arat netifim. I don't know how you say it in English. The caves that, you know, when the drops, they fall and they make...
they create the stalactites, the big things.
Yes, the crystals. Yeah, I call it like this. It's like drops of water. The work that we do in awareness and in consciousness is like drops of water, another drop and another drop and another drop. And each time we evolve some more and we let ourselves be a little more free. And that allows us to do a little more that we did yesterday, a week ago, a year ago, or 9 years ago, like we did.
Actually, I want to say something. I love the metaphor you gave earlier about digging, you know, that we're digging because we're looking for things that are unconscious, right? So we're going underground in our own psyche. And you were saying, well, you know, it's a lot of work, and it is work. And I had a thought. I thought, well, wait a minute. We're not just digging. It's not like someone just told us to dig a trench. We're digging for treasure. You know,
yes.
What if someone told you in your backyard, 1 meter under the ground, there was like, you know, gold worth a few million shekels? Do you think you'd be able to find the energy to get a shovel and go out and dig it up? Or would you get down 1/2 meter and go, you know what, this is too much work. This is too hard. I don't like digging. Right. If you knew you were digging for treasure, then you wouldn't be concerned about the work. It would go pretty quickly. And that's my experience, right? That the kind of digging we're talking about, this internal transformation, is digging for treasure. And the treasure is joy and happiness and fulfillment. And not just for me, but for the other people I'm having relationships with, that I get to touch their lives and improve their lives. And if I choose to, if I want to, create a better world as well. That is treasure and worth digging for.
And I said that also it's our natural birthright.
Yes.
To live this way, in joy and in freedom and in living our life purpose. It's really our natural birthright, but we forgot it. So it's good that you, Tim, and a lot of mentors and people all over the world, and here in Israel, and humbly I say myself, really...
Don't be too humble, it's another bar.
Really enable people to do their work and set themselves free and find their own purpose and do good in the world, because when you do this work, what I realize is that you don't only care about yourself and your own family and community. You want to change the world. You want to touch as many people as you can in life.
That's right. And from that place, there's no enemy. There's no one who needs to be gotten rid of or suppressed or sent away. If we create a better world for everyone, then
and there is not competition also, because you do your work, I do my work, everybody does their own piece of the puzzle, so we all can be, happier, joyful, and...
and that's going to sound crazy to some people who are still in the cage. What do you mean no competition? What do you mean no enemy? Good. We just showed a flashlight on a few of the bars.
So Tim Kelley, thank you very, very much. I really enjoyed our talk and this interview.
I love these chats we have, Orly. It's wonderful. Thank you. And thank you so much for touching so many people's lives.
Thank you. And I hope to see you when you are here in Israel, to meet you. And to everybody who's on the call, thank you for being here with us. And I hope we opened a little window in your consciousness to new things, to new ideas. And I wish you all the best. And we will see.
And if you want it, we want you to open the door and leave your cage.
And what I say, really, that the door is open. We just have to realize it. The door was open all the time. We are free. So thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you, Orly. Toda rabba rabba.
And we'll see you here in Israel in November.
See you very soon.
So bye-bye. ולכם חברים, לילה טוב ותודה רבה, ואנחנו נתראה בתוכנית הבאה של השראה פרקטית. אני אפרסם על זה. לילה טוב.
לילה טוב.
לילה טוב, ביי ביי.